Welcome to another week of The Inimitable Black Woman. I am so excited for y'all to hear this podcast this week. I did something a little bit different. I actually went down to Houston to go to an event being thrown by Shellsy called Intimate Conversations, The Culture Affects Us All. And it basically was a conversation with men and women about sexual violence, and that, you know, that word encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses rape culture, encompasses sexual abuse as a child, it encompasses rape, it encompasses just everyday things that women go through, that men go through. And in this interview series, I highlight stories of Black women, basically their take on it, their stories, the things that they've been through, and take a listen. But even before you get to the end of this, I want to encourage you, if any of these stories touch you, please take the advice and that they give you to go and tell someone. Please go talk to someone. But also, I would love for you to go to the Instagram to share this and to share your story. And so let's take a listen. So what's your name?
My name is Jasmine.
Jasmine, okay. So from your perspective, what is a way that you feel like we can basically free people who are dealing with the shame of sexual assault and sexual violence and things of that nature?
I think the biggest thing would be letting them know that their voice has power, that you can speak up, that you can stop it, and not only that, but just that shame, I think, that we put on a lot of women, a lot of young girls about their sexuality. It's always like this black or white thing, it's like you're either ashamed of your sexuality or they want you to exploit your sexuality. It's like no middle ground where you can embrace it, where you can feel comfortable with your own body, where you can know hey, I own my body, I'm in control of this. If I don't want something to happen to me, it doesn't have to, So I think that would be the thing. It's just the education and just really freeing their mind about the whole situation. That would be.
How would you say people can find healing from this?
I honestly feel I'm going through the healing process myself. I feel like it's a lot of inner work that has to go on, because the first thing, it is mental, because you can know in your mind hey, I'm more than just my body. You can know it in your mind, but you may respond differently when that situation actually occurs. If a guy, let's say you're in a relationship, if it's a teenage girl in a relationship, she can know in her mind hey, I'm more than my body, I'm more than that. But if she gets with a guy and she feels oh, I don't want to lose him, or maybe he'll go with another girl if I don't do this, it's one thing to know it in your mind, it's another thing how you're going to respond in that situation. So I think it's a lot to do with boundaries. It's a lot to do with really knowing, really knowing, deep down in your soul, knowing what you stand for and knowing what you're not going to do and what you're not going to allow to happen to you. And so, I think that's what it is. As far as the healing, it's really healing your inner child, really sitting with your emotions, knowing okay, this is how I feel. I feel I want to give it away to this guy. Why do you feel that way? Where did that come from? Just different things like that. If you feel shame, if you feel insecurities, if you feel anything like that, it's really thinking, okay, where is this emotion coming from? So you can know how to heal from that.
Do you have a story you want to share?
In my past, the biggest thing was, we just talked about the whole rape culture. When I was in school, it was always guys, they would be able to hug you, they can touch on you at parties, everybody's dancing on each other, it was just normal, and I got in a situation, I was about 18, and it was a guy, I saw him at it was a beauty supply store, and he was hey, can I get your number? At that point in my life, I'm not like this now, but at that point, I was so scared to say no. I would just give them my number and just don't pick up when they called, and so he had called me a couple times. I didn't pick up, and finally one day I picked up, and he was yeah, I want to take you out, this and that. And at that point, I was okay, I'll just go. I was I'm actually going to church tonight. I'm going to a Bible study. He was oh, I'll go with you. I'll come pick you up. So he came to pick me up. He didn't take me to church. He took me to this park. And I was this isn't church. He know what's going on. And he was no, we're going to be too early. I just want to show you. It's this duck pond back here. It's nice. Let's just go. And so I got out the car, and I'm walking with him. And then eventually when we got to the back, he tried to pull me into where these trees are and tried to rape me. But a family came walking up. He saw them, got scared, ran off. So I had to do a whole police report, all of this. As I'm doing the police report, I remember the 2 investigators, they were looking at me like I was crazy. They're like, so a man took you somewhere, you got out the car with him, even though it wasn't where you, and I'm like, yeah. Like, I didn't know what else to do. And then he's like, so at what point, so when he pulled his pants down and you didn't think that was, and I was like, that's just what guys did, when he touched you, like when he put his arms around you and was like walking behind you and brushing up on you, didn't you think that was wrong? And I'm like, no, like it was just so normal to me. It was just normal, like, because that's what guys did. That's what boys did at school. That's what boys did at parties, and so when a situation really did happen where it was bad, I guess I just felt so powerless. Like I couldn't say anything. I didn't want to overreact. I didn't want, I was scared of what he was going to do. And not only that, but I just felt like that kind of situation, that kind of treatment to women was so normal. And it was not normal at all. And so I think it's important for us to really teach women and teach girls like what's normal and what's not. Like that kind of stuff isn't okay. But if you look at music videos, if you social media, movies, whatever, it's easy to fall into like, okay, that's okay. If a guy's at a club, he can grab you. If a guy, if y'all drinking, if you're doing this, he can do this. He can put his arm around you. It's just really understanding like what's okay and what isn't as far as your body.
So one of the things you talked about was how the officers were kind of reacting to you. Mm-hmm. To me, it sounds like someone that doesn't understand what it's like to be in that situation.
Exactly.
So what is something you would say to someone that really just doesn't get it? What is something you would want them to understand about those situations?
Well, I try to explain this to guys all the time because like when I talk to girls, they get it. But it seems like when I talk to guys, they're like, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't And I think it's important for them to understand that it's different growing up in a world when you're a man and growing up in a world as a woman. It's 2 completely different things. Because as women, when you're presented, like let's say you're walking into a store and it's a group of guys out front, you get terrified, like to walk through them. It's like, they're about to say something, they're about to do this, they're about to whatever. And so it's just that feeling of powerlessness is hard to explain to a guy because guys are so, man, I wouldn't let nobody do that to me. I'll fight. I would do this. Like they have like that machoism. They have that thing in their mind. Like, I mean, that's how they were brought up. They were in football. They were in basketball. They were always fighting in the streets. They were, it's like they were brought up to be tough, to be strong, to speak their mind. As women, a lot of times we were brought up to, okay, don't say that. Okay, don't be like that. Okay, kind of, and plus growing up as young girls, I remember my mom and my dad, everybody will always tell me, they kind of put that fear in you, like, oh, you got to watch your back. Oh, you got to watch out for this. Oh, men will do this to you. Oh, you got to watch out. And so you grow up fearful. And so when a man actually does approach you, like you're not about to fight back. You're not about to say anything. You're just going to go along with it and everything. But what a lot of guys have told me, they're like, if you would have fought back, it was a lot of situations I was in. Like if you would have fought back, if you would have spoke up and said something, like he would have stopped. And I'm like, I didn't think I had that much power in me. I didn't think I could. And they're like, no, like most guys are not like that. Especially like in school or at parties, stuff like that. Like if you would like snap back and say something, they will stop. Or if you would fight back, they would back off. And I just didn't know that at that time. So I think that's what's important.
When it comes to the issue of sexual assault, sexual violence, things of that nature, what is something that you feel can make a change in that area?
I think talking about it is the biggest thing. Just me even telling people that I'm going to this event opened up conversation. So I think talking about it and just being open and not feeling like you have to be ashamed to be quiet, I think that helps to the overall, movement towards ending sexual violence and rape.
Why do you think people don't talk about it?
I think shame is a big thing. Shame for, I don't know if it's a weakness or just sexual violence towards people is so taboo, especially when it happens to young children at the hands of people that they trusted or that they knew. it seems like this hush hush. And I have friends who's, it was a family member that committed the crime, and so I think there's that too, of wanting to protect that family member. But I think shame, like just embarrassment that maybe you're taken advantage of, or it wasn't under your control. I don't know. I just think our culture has made it something that you just don't talk about. So,
do you have a story you want to share?
I don't personally, but I know people who have.
So, I would say on a smaller scale, though, as a woman, when have you felt like you've been in situations that are everyday situations where you have felt the threat of someone attacking you or someone taking advantage of you or just being uneasy with it?
Yeah, one of my best friends, she lives in D.C., and I went to visit her, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago, and we went out to this club. It was me, her, and her boyfriend, and we're at the bar, we're getting drinks, and this guy like comes up to me, and he's just like talking to me, and I don't know, he was trying to get my number or something, and I kind of brushed him off, and so he's like, oh, okay, whatever, baby, and he like pats the small of my back, and I was extremely upset. Thankfully, my friend was right there and saw what was going on, and so she puts her arms around me to protect me from him touching me any further, because I think that he was embarrassed because I turned him down. I mean, I wasn't nasty about it, but I'm in a different city. I'm from the South, and going up to the North, there's already kind of this fear of being there, and then for this man I don't know, I don't even know his face, but to touch the small of my back as if we knew each other, it really angered me, and it just made me feel that much more uncomfortable, made me feel like I didn't want to stay at that bar. Just kind of put, I still think about it now, just like in 4 years. So
why do you think it's stuck with you for so long?
I think because it's such a common thing. When you go out, that there's a possibility that someone could approach you and go further than you would like. And so I think it's just stuck in my mind, because I'm like, anytime I go out, really go outside of the house, it's a possibility that something could happen, and I think it's just stuck with me, because you're constantly, as a woman, I think, confronted with your own vulnerability in situations like that, not knowing what to do. I was thankful that she saw me and just like put her hands around me and just was like, oh, hey, friend, and kind of like calmed down the situation, so he didn't feel like, I can't believe you just turned me down again. But it was kind of more subtle. But she understood what was going on with me in that moment, because I don't think he even realized what he did, or maybe he did and just didn't care. I don't know.
For you, what do you feel like when it comes to sexual assault, sexual violence? What do you think is a way that we can defeat that? It's kind of like a very big, broad subject, but it's like, what do you think is an effective step in that area to help people?
Effective step is stop at the red flags. Instead of waiting until it becomes this, he grabbed me really hard, or he disregarded me saying no the first time. Those small little red flags, that little intuition that we have, really be intentional about listening to those little voices that we have before the big stuff happens, or the sexual assault comes, or the big sign of the sexual assault comes. I think if we listen to those little intuition and little red flags, I think we can kind of avoid a lot of issues.
Okay. So what is your story when it comes to this issue?
Oh, wow. I was twice. One was a female cousin. I actually repressed it for a long time. It started to come up this year, actually. She actually, I'm a little vulgar here, if that's okay.
It's okay.
She actually,
you can say on my podcast, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So she actually fingered me. She fingered me. I think it only happened once. She was like maybe 18, 17, somewhere in high school. I was in late middle school. So that was the first one. After it happened, I just got up and I was like, did that just happen or was that a dream? It really was like that for a lot of years until I realized, like, yes, it really did happen. The second one was another family member, a younger male cousin would come into my room and like rub on me and rub on my boobs, rub on my butt and all that kind of stuff. And the first time, which I was saying before, I ignored it because I was like, this got to be a dream. And the second time, get out of my room, stop. Third time, that's when he was full on grabbing, like come in, sneak in the room at a certain time, grab my butt, grab my boobs, and it started to get to the point trying to take off my clothes. And that's when I called my mom and told my mom he couldn't come over anymore after that. So those are my 2 incidents with sexual assault, sexual abuse, things of that nature.
How are you healing, or how did you heal in those?
It's like a it's like a blessing and a curse. I'm a big forgiving person. I'm like, that was them. They were going through their own issues because we're all humans at the end of the day, and not to take it so personal like they were trying to hurt me. It was more like, okay, they had their own issues. I just ended up being that person they took it out on. So for me to heal, I had to say they're human. They have their own issues. I have my own issues with it, but they were my family too. So that love aspect came in like, wow, I really have to love you beyond what you did to me. To this day, I still see that same cousin, that same female cousin. Never brought it up to her. I don't think I have, at least. Never brought it up to her, but I think my solace was, you know what, she was going through her own issues, and then I was there. So my thing was just grace their humanity. That's kind of how I got past it.
People who are dealing with that, who aren't in this place now, who have gone through that, what would you tell them as advice of how to heal or how to move past it?
Talk about it. Talking is I think is one of the most simple but freeing things that you can do. It don't have to be $100 an hour therapist. If I know that I'm talking to you and we're close and I know you're not going to judge me and I can just release, talking about it is half the work, because we want to hold it in on the inside so much. I don't want to say nothing because I'm afraid, I'm ashamed, I'm going to mess up stuff. And then on the top of, the biggest thing is the shame. Like, how could I let this happen to me? How could I let this person touch on me? It was my fault, which a lot of people who are abused feel like that is. It's my fault. So talking about it. I remember telling my mom about something that happened to me, and this weight that lifted off of me, it freed me up to talk about it more and be able to do that. So very first thing, very minimal thing, talk. You have to say something to somebody. And I would say, well, just journal it, pray about it, you'll be okay. I don't want to say prayer don't work, but I want to say you have to be intentional about the actions behind your faith moves. Mm-hmm. So you have to be intentional about, okay, I'm going to pray about this, but I do still need to talk to someone. I have a spiritual mentor. I'm building that relationship with her now. And there are some things I'm like, I don't want to tell her, but I know there's freedom in talking. So that'll be the very first thing. Somebody who's going through it right now, they've listened to my voice right now, you're going through it right now, tell somebody. That's half the work. You've won half the battle right there just by talking about it. And then the healing really starts from there, because you're really deteriorating on the inside when you hold it. It's like a cancer, literally. So that's what I would say. Talk about it.
When it comes to the subject, and the subject when it comes to Black women, what are things that you feel are unique to us when it comes to dealing with these type of things?
I think we're used to it. I think as Black women, it's something that is literally like, oh, that happened to you, girl? Oh, me too, and it's done. It's not an issue. And I think that's the biggest problem. Just like the guy was saying in one of the events that we were just in. He was saying how it goes back to slavery time. Women being raped back then was, did it happen to you today? Oh, girl, it happened to me Tuesday. And it just kind of come up. So as Black women, I think sometimes we feel as if this is supposed to happen to us. Like, I read this book. She was a stripper. She was just stripping just to be able to get money to pay for medical school. So she got raped by this guy. And she literally said afterwards, I was just waiting for it to happen. It was the inevitable. It was a Black woman in the book. And that stuck with me, because as women, we see a woman, a Black woman that didn't get messed with or molested or raped. We're just like, wow. It's like a unicorn or something, when that should be the norm. So I think with us as Black women, we make that a normalcy to be raped or touched on or molested by our uncle or our stepdad or our older brother, older cousin. We make it too normal. So I think that's something it's an unfortunate uniqueness that we have about the sexual assault and sexual abuse in our culture.
So for someone who doesn't understand or hasn't dealt with it, even I've encountered women who don't understand, can't fathom it because it hasn't happened to them. But it's funny because I feel like, though, women on a lighter end have had it happen to them.
Right.
It may not be to this extent, but it's like we had the conversation today about when you go to the club, you have a fear of being attacked, or you don't want, or
that's part of it.
You take touches and things. So I would say, for people who can't grasp it or don't understand, what is something, as someone who's gone through it, that you wish they did understand, or that they could intake and listen to?
Two things. It's twofold. Being that sounding board, being that person that I can talk to, because like I said before, talking is a big thing. If you've never been through it, it's hard for you to listen, but sometimes people being abused, they don't need the advice. They need you just to be able to sit there and listen. I just need your ear. I don't need your wisdom or your advice, because you've never been through it, especially from somebody who's never been through it, because you really can't relate. And then on the other end, not judging them, not putting the blame on them. Well, sis, what were you wearing? You did go to the club that night. Sis, you was drinking that night. Like I would, or somebody would say, I would never go to an atmosphere like that. See, those kind of things happen when you, and it gets into this victim shaming thing when you're not trying to victim shame because you really don't understand what's going on, but you really are victim shaming subconsciously. So I would say is just be that listening ear. You don't have to give any advice. Sometimes the best freedom is just listening. Somebody just sit there and listen to you and just not be judgmental. And also third part, this just came. Be humble enough to say, I really don't know what you're talking about. Let me go do some research. Let me talk to a friend of mine who has been in that situation. What would they want me to say while they were in that situation? Be humble enough to learn what you don't know to be able to help the person that's talking to you.
So from the point of view of a black woman, how do you feel, especially like in our group amongst black women, that we can make a change to not only get the word out about this, but to let people know how it's affecting us?
I think being more vocal. Rape comes with shame, it comes with silence, it comes with a feeling of, I don't know, just being afraid. So if we were more vocal about it, and it takes courage to be vocal, because especially on social media and in your friend groups, like, sometimes you're like, nah, that's too much. But I think that if we were more vocal about it, and if we, especially our own personal experiences, and it doesn't even have to be big, it can be something small to you, and still it could be helpful for just getting the word out that it, what's going on with us. I think if we just talk more about it, I don't see a lot of people talking about it.
Do you have a personal experience you'd like to share?
Yes, I do. Okay, so my experience was, anyways, I think I'm okay with talking about it. I don't get emotional or anything like that. I just feel like really personal. I don't like to be too personal, but it's okay. I'm fine. I'll talk about it. So, my brother, he molested me when I was little. But the way that he did that was he made me afraid of him. So he would, beat me up and choke me and stuff like that. And I had asthma too, so I was very afraid. But anyways, he made me afraid of him. And he just, I think it was really just one moment where he just decided to do whatever he wanted to do. And because I was so afraid, and my I didn't have a place of security. So when he would beat me up and all those things, I would tell my mom, and she would just be like, oh, whatever. But when he did that, I knew if I said anything, nothing was going to happen. Like, I felt like I was not secure. So that happened to me. That was over. And then I asked him about after I got saved and I found the Lord and whole new life. That was one of the first things that God just kept talking to me about. So I went to my brother and I asked him about it, and what he told me was that somebody did it to him. And I asked him if he wanted to talk about it, and he said no. So, but I just personally think that he was molested by another man, and that was it. So that's my experience.
What would you say to someone that is dealing with that same situation that hasn't come through it yet?
I don't know. I don't know, because with that comes it's a lot that goes with it. With me, I felt not safe in my home, so I feel like I don't even feel like I would say something back then, honestly, just because it wasn't a safe environment. You know what I'm saying? Even if I would have said anything, it probably would have still kept. There was nothing that would have happened, honestly, in my opinion, back then. I don't feel like anything would have happened. But to somebody who's going through that right now, I would just say, I haven't even had anything to say.
What if they're not going through right now, but that has happened to them?
Yes, okay.
Younger, and so now
I would say talk to somebody about it, because that really did help me. I think the breaking point in my entire life, when everything started to change, was when I told my friends what happened to me. And I don't know why I felt so comfortable with them. I mean, I hadn't told anybody, but the one day I told my friends about what happened, it felt like after that it was like a ripple effect of everything changing for my entire life. I didn't even know God then when I told them that, and then right after that everything just changed for me. So I do think there is power in telling somebody. You don't necessarily have to tell your parents. You don't have to. You talk to a counselor, somebody you trust, or something like that. I would talk to somebody, because I can definitely remember the day that I told my friends, and it felt like something was released, and it was so quick and easy. I just was like, this happened to me when I was little, but it was like impactful. It was so impactful that and I had no idea that it would be that powerful for me to just say something, even just a small sentence. Helped me. I feel like it helped me, but I feel like it was perfect timing too, child, because right after that everything changed. It was like it was awesome. And another thing was, because I was living that secret, I feel like that secret was causing me to live in so many other lies in my life. And after that, I just started telling people the truth about everything. I was just like, y'all, I don't even do this, like, so it was freeing. So yes, I think they should just tell at least somebody who they trust.
What is your name?
My name is Shellsy, no name Malvo.
So why this event? Why this?
It personally hits home for me because I know what it feels like to bottle things in, and knowing that I should stand up and talk about it. I should face my fears and actually stand up, because if me standing up proves that there's going to be a change somewhere, then I just have to get over that fear. I have to conquer that fear in order to go forward and help others like myself.
For you, what is your story?
Oh, my story. Well, going back to when I was 6 years old, I was sadly molested by a young lady who was a few years older than me in public school. And for a long period of time, I guess my mind sort of blocked it out. It was like a mechanism where, it was so traumatic, we just gonna forget about it, because we don't want something like that to basically block you from going forward. I guess that's my mind saying, hey, it's gonna be okay, we can get this together. And apparently, I guess some trigger happened, and I remember telling my mom, and she said, you know what do you want me to do about it? Because it happened a long time ago. What should we do now? And that's where the pain started. That is where all the hurt started, the shame, the guilt, and feeling as if no one wants to hear me, no one wants to hear my story. Feeling as if what I say doesn't matter.
What started the change for you when it came to your healing and dealing with this?
I will say in college, I had a self-reflection moment where I was basically looking for validation. If I couldn't get it from my mom, if I couldn't get some type of accolade or some type of reward or some type of way of her paying attention to me, I will get it from somewhere else. And it was mostly guys. So I will fall for you're beautiful, you're pretty, and I let that basically mold me into something that I know that I'm not. But I was like, you know what? I will go for it because I have attention. I feel as if somebody does care about me. And at one point in time, my boyfriend left me, my friends abandoned me, and I was clearly alone, which started a depression. And this all happened my freshman year of college. So I was like, I guess I'll try therapy. Even though people in my family ridiculed me for that, they're like, that's like a white people thing. Like, you shouldn't do that. Either you should go to church, which I wasn't at the time, or, get over it. Apparently I can't get over it. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a try. And that first 5 minutes of me talking to this therapist, she literally told me that I had low self-esteem. I didn't believe it at first, but when she said all the different triggers and different ways that people with low self-esteem act, I'm like, okay. So it was an eye-opener. So taking that first step of talking to someone who was unbiased really brought me to the term of healing, you would say, because I feel like I'm still healing, but I am free from it, but it takes time to heal. So that's what I believe.
When it comes to this subject, what do you feel are some things that are unique to Black women in this area?
The whole experience of a strong Black woman type where, hey, we basically gone through slavery. It goes back to slavery, how, we basically encounter things like rape from our masters, rape from other slaves, and, how men treated them as, demoralizing and, devaluing women. And I guess it started from there. And we couldn't just stay there. We couldn't just stay at a point where we're just broken down. We have to find ways to pick ourselves up, even if that meant not talking about our feelings and not talking about things that hurt us, because at the end of the day, on the fields, it's not going to matter because you're going to get hurt for it. So you might as well just bottle it in and keep on going, because at the end of the day, it's going to be consequences. And now, since it's not as harsh as it was then, we feel as if it's some sort of setback when it comes to talking about how we feel. And we actually are doing more damage to ourselves when it comes to holding things in, because there is no healing from that. It's like a cancer that just grows and grows and grows without no treatment. We just can't keep it bottled in. And eventually, everyone sees pain. Everyone sees hurt. So if you keep letting that in, it's going to affect every area of your life. It becomes toxic. And I believe that with women, we do whatever we can, even if it means like covering up a rape story like my mother did. It doesn't matter as long as no one sees it, because it's a sign of weakness. And we need to get away from that mindset, because like I mentioned in the event, we need to stop putting vulnerability with weakness. We need to put it with a place of strength and courage and bravery. And I believe that as Black women, we need to get away from that stigma. We need to get away from old mindsets and go to something new. Go to something where it's actually not normal. And it's okay to be not normal. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And we need to grasp that, because that is where we're going to start. That's where we're going to have our healing. Or else we're just going to stay in the ugly place. Stay in the ugly place where it's not only affecting us, but affect our children. So I just don't want that for my life. I don't want to be hurting for the rest of my life. Okay, I'm good.
If you had the attention of the entire world and this topic was what you were going to speak to them about, what would you tell them? You have their attention for just a little bit, and it's everyone.
Listen. Open your ears and listen. Because we all, as human, we have our selfish moments where we want people to hear us, but we don't want to listen to people. So we need to open our ears and listen and see that people are going through pain. We need to be more empathetic. We need to stop putting people's problems aside and push our own. We grow stronger as we continue to help others. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that was a very powerful series of conversations. I'm just so absolutely proud of the women that I spoke with. I'm proud of them for being transparent and just being open to speaking to me as a stranger. And I hope that after hearing their stories, that if you have dealt with the same things, or you're dealing with the same things, or you've been in these situations, that you don't feel alone, that you don't feel shame, but instead you start to feel freedom. And like I said before, if you need to talk to someone, go and talk to someone. Let somebody know. Don't hold it in, because like they said, it will destroy you. And I can say I am another woman that has dealt with these things, I've been in situations, and yeah, it can be imprisoning in a way, and it can make you feel just awful. I don't know how to say it. It is a heavy subject, but it's very real for a lot of us. Please go and follow Shellsy. Her Instagram is at unconventional_shell. So UNCONVENTIONAL_shell, SHELL. And next time she has one of these events, I'll definitely post it. But if you're in Houston, you should go and visit it. But, I would love for you, if you have a story that you want to share, you can hit the Instagram at theinimitablebw, or you can even email me at theinimitablebw@gmail.com. Visit the Instagram. Please visit Shellsy's Instagram. Show her some love. I'm blown away by this event. It was really awesome, and it was definitely a healing for the people in the room. As always, we release these interviews bi-weekly. This one was a special one, but every week I interview an inimitable Black woman, as I say, and I get her story just about her life and how she sees the world and their various experiences and things that they've persevered through. So take a listen to other interviews if this is your first time here, and if you love this interview, please go share it, because someone might need to hear it. Have a great week. Love ya. 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 Have a great week.